What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Talk to Me here on NotFest.com. As always, I am Joshua Toomey, joined by the one and only Chris Akin. Chris, how are we feeling this week?
Oh, we are splendid. Splendid as always, man.
It's always good to talk to you, catch up, see what's going on with you.
Yeah, not much. Again, not a lot. Just sitting around waiting for this damn shoulder to heal. But it's getting better, slowly but surely. I'll be finding out probably tomorrow if I'm having surgery or not. So we will see. I hope not, but it's seeming the fact that it's 8 weeks later and rounds of medicine have already expired and everything else, and it still hurts like hell. I'm thinking I'm going to get a little scalpel to the shoulder here. That's just a thought.
I wanted to hit you with something right away, man.
All right, go ahead.
So my wife's favorite podcast, it's called Red Handed. It's a murder podcast hosted by a couple of ladies, and I guess they got picked up by Wondery.
Okay.
And so Wondery puts out amazing shows, high production value, whatnot. And for Wondery Plus, it's like $5 a month or $35 for the year. No free plugs, no free shout outs. But I'd been thinking about getting it for a while because they'll do the thing where they have a 5-part episode. The first 4 are free.
Okay.
5th one you got to pay for kind of deal. Sure. And then you can also get it ad free and whatnot. And she hits me up today and she's just frustrated that her favorite show is now behind a paywall. And I'm like, it's $5 a month. And she's like, I can't believe they're charging us for it. I'm like, you got to kind of look at it like that's your favorite show. And now they're probably getting paid well to do that show, and if you enjoy the quality of the show, then pay the $5 a month and just, and move on, man. Because if it's your favorite show and it's highly entertaining, kick a couple of bucks to it.
Yeah, dude, my theory on that. I'm all for that. We obviously with my other show, Classic Metal Show, we have the Patreon like thing on Locals.
Yeah.
Where we offer the show, we offer the show. Anybody can get the 5 hours of audio for free if they listen live on Saturday nights. But if they want it on demand, then they can pay the $5 a month to get the middle segment, the Wednesday segment, more or less for and it's $5. And I do some other things with it too, as far as talking, rambling back and forth with the hardcores that spend their big $5 a month. And I actually just changed it so that now they can get all of the podcasts commercial free as part of the $5 a month, so that, try to give as much value as I can. But, what everybody tends to forget about these things, and Lord knows I never wanted to charge anything for anything. I never do. But man, there's just expenses to this shit. There just is. I don't know what this podcast has, but I'd imagine, is it video or audio? Or both?
I would assume it's both. She only listens on podcast.
So if it is both, then there's somebody that has to edit it all together and find the pictures, and probably has to buy some of the pictures because some of them are, licensed to other people or whatever. So you got to pay licensing fees. And, in our case, we have to pay for web hosting and we have an app in the app store that we have to pay for and stuff like that. So there is expense to it.
Yeah.
It's as much as it's a labor of love. It's there is some expense, and you're right. If you enjoy it, I'm a firm believer that free is bad, because if it's free, then there's no value in it. There's no value for you as a person, like, to commit to it, and there's no value to the person to do as good a job as they do. If it's just, when you're doing something for nothing, if you're changing tires on somebody's car, as long as the fucking tire gets on the car, you're good. If you're getting paid to do it, well, then you're making sure the alignment's right and everything's done because you're getting paid to do it. That's really the difference. Tell your wife, stop being so cheap. $5. It's her favorite show.
Right. But she ended up doing it. And then I also ended up actually doing the Wondery thing today too, because I listen to so many podcasts on there. And I actually listened to a series on there today, and without the ads and stuff. And you realize how many ads are in these shows. And And the one thing too, Wondery, they put a lot of time, effort, scripted, sound effects, editing, all that stuff. So I mean, it's definitely more than just, a couple of bozos on mics, hitting record and talking about metal news,
Well, and the thing is look, for your wife or for anybody, if you want free, especially in the murder porn realm, there's plenty of it. There's, my favorite thing on YouTube is a channel called, I think it's called it's either Here Are Monsters or We Are Monsters. Forget which one it is. But this guy, I mean, he's got 10 seasons of shows. Every show is like an hour and a half long, and it profiles, different murder cases and different serial killers and all this different stuff. So, if you don't want to pay the $5, you can go and find that podcast, and it's well done as well, so there's plenty of that content. But yeah, if you found something you like, pay for it. What difference does it make?
Right. And actually $35 a year, not too bad,
that's
especially for the quality that they do.
Yeah.
And, speaking of ads, a great tour going on this summer is Mudvayne, Cold Chamber, Gwar, Nonpoint, and Butcher Babies.
Yes.
The Freaks on Parade. No. This is not the Freaks on Parade tour. This is the psychotherapy sessions.
Okay. I'm in. So it starts in what, May?
Oh, right? Man. This tour is July 20th, West Palm Beach, Florida, at the I Think Financial Amphitheater.
All right.
And it runs through August 26th in Inglewood, Colorado, at the Fiddler's Green Amphitheater. So
that's a great tour, dude. I mean, that's if you like that era of music, just to see, for me on that list, seeing Mudvayne, Nonpoint, and Butcher Babies, worth it. Definitely worth it.
Oh yeah, I mean the fact that Gwar is the middle band in this, I think I guess I saw Gwar Louder Than Life last year, so it kind of shows me what like an amphitheater show of Gwar would be, where they can come out and kind of do an abbreviated set of what they're going to do. But I think it'd be a lot of fun. And man, 5 solid bands. I mean, if you don't come for Butcher Babies, why are you even going?
Well, I definitely come for Butcher Babies, but that's a whole nother thing. Set it up, knock it down.
Oh, Lord have mercy. But
no, it's a great tour. It's a great tour, dude. I mean, honestly, and Mudvayne, Mudvayne being back together. Yeah. Hopefully do you think it's going to spark them to actually do more than tour? You think they're going to record? Or
I mean, you would think so. I mean, getting those 4 guys back together, put them in a room, see if the magic's there still.
Sure. Same with Cold Chamber, right? And Cold Chamber's part of this too, right?
Yep. Mudvayne, Cold Chamber, Gwar, Nonpoints, and Butcher Babies.
Yeah. So Cold Chamber, that's a whole nother. So you got 2 bands that are seeing if they still got the magic to do it.
Right.
So they'll be probably a little extra hyped at the shows to kick ass. Yeah, that's going to be a good tour. And Nonpoint never disappoints. They're fantastic live. So yeah, that's a good tour.
Gonna be a great tour. Got to check that one out. Let's dive into a little bit of news. You want to go Metallica or some of this Ace Frehley stuff first? What do you think?
Well, since I don't like Kiss, I'll go Metallica.
All right. So Lars Ulrich on Metallica's future. If we stay healthy, hopefully we've got another decade. In a new interview with Revolver, Metallica drummer Lars Ulrich was asked if he and his bandmates have ever thought about reaching a certain benchmark before retiring from the road. He responded, "It's not something we've talked a lot about, no. I think most of the energy and the resources go into trying to stay healthy, stay cohesive, stay functioning. As I get older, I spend more and more of my time on my daily workouts, on my cardio, on my strength training. I'm chained to my Peloton hours a day. It's all about trying to stay healthy, eating healthy, living healthy, whatever it is each of us needs to do to bring to the table. Obviously, there is a point where maybe it's not going to function anymore at some level where we can't play Battery or Master of Puppets or songs like that. I know there's some people in the comments section that think that point has already come, and I appreciate that. but the only thing I can say is it hasn't happened yet, knock on wood. Hopefully it won't happen for a while. I mean, Paul McCartney's out there past his 80th birthday. The Rolling Stones are still out here, and Springsteen just started his tour.
All right, let's compare those 3 bands he just listed to Metallica. Come on. Those 3 bands play music that's almost written to be performed acoustically or to develop down to acoustic. Metallica's a different animal. Notice in his in all of his prep talk, he did not say that he's continuing to practice playing drums.
Right.
He talked about his Peloton and his cardio and getting in shape and how he eats. He didn't talk about playing drums. That's what Lars needs to be doing, practicing playing drums because he's lousy. You know, that being said, what do you think Hetfield's answer to this? Hetfield probably sees this as like, wait a minute, I want to retire now.
I wanted to retire yesterday.
Yeah.
It's funny you brought up the three bands that he brought up. It says, when the interview noted that none of these dudes are playing anything even close to battery tempo every night, the 59-year-old Lars concurred. He says, right. But at the same time, Springsteen plays 3-hour shows and just played 28 fucking songs on the opening night. He looks healthier and stronger than ever, but I appreciate what you're saying. None of them are playing battery. I would say if we are healthy, hopefully we've got another decade. I mean, the second I'm done with you, I'm getting on the Peloton.
Yeah, not on the drum kit.
Right.
First of all, I am a Springsteen fan, so I have watched a few of these videos of Bruce. What Lars just said right there is an out and out lie.
Okay.
Bruce does not look as healthy as ever. He looks, and he doesn't look bad, and he's not performing bad. So I'm not saying that, but he looks old. He looks old. He's kind of got the old man shuffle now instead of strutting around the stage like powerful, proud, born in the USA Bruce. And again, he's 75 years old or whatever. He is old. But for him to say that Bruce looks like he did, trying to say he's at the peak of his game, that's ridiculous. You know, McCartney kind of stands around. I've seen McCartney in the last 15 years. McCartney just sort of stands in the middle and plunks on his bass while 85 other musicians play Love Me Do behind him. You know, I mean, that's, who's the other one? The Rolling Stones?
Yeah.
I'll give him Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger can still strut around the stage like he's 20, but he's an anomaly. And hell, I'll give it to Metallica. Metallica still brings it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they bring it with a lot of fury, with a lot of aggression. It's not like you watch Metallica and they're playing, you know, battery. Dun, 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 dun. You know, it's not like that. It's. I mean, they still bring it pretty good. I don't think 10 years. They may do 10 years, but they're going to have to do it kind of the way they're doing it now. With play like 2 gigs a week, you know,
right.
For a tour over 2 years. You know, I don't know. I'm sticking to my story that I think Hetfield wants to quit and just can't because there's too many people in the Metallica universe that he would make unemployed if he quit. I don't see the fire in him. Do you?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Yeah. I wonder what the divorce is going to kind of do to the live show. If it's going to, you know, get him back into fiery mode, or if it's going to, you know, bum him out even more. The one thing I thought about this was, it's funny because Kiss into the road tour or whatnot, that's 50 years of Kiss. Mm-hmm. But we're like, what, 42 years into Metallica? Like, we're only 8 years away from Metallica's 50th anniversary. But it's like a perception thing because Kiss feels like they're a million years old. Mm-hmm. And even though they're not, I mean, Metallica kind of still feels like a new band to me, you know, like a newer band. You know, they're not of the Kisses and Led Zeppelins, but I mean, they're only a couple of years younger than those guys.
Well, it's because we were there when they started. Yeah, I guarantee you the 20-year-olds watching this right now are going, what the hell are you talking about? Metallica's ancient.
Right.
You know.
Talking about that guy that looks like your grandpa up there on stage. Yeah, he's real young, bro.
Yeah, he's young, all right. Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes down to where you come into the band. You know, for me and you, Kiss was an established band, and I'm older than you by, what, 10 years?
Yeah, 10
years. And Kiss was established when I got into music. You know, so they're old. They're in the Beatles category to me.
Yeah.
You know, but Metallica, I mean, I remember I met them on Ride the Lightning. So, you know, to me, that was they're part of my growth, my youth. So they're still current as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's just that perception. I mean, like Howard Jones and like Phil Anselmo are like the same age, but it's still like they're like two separate eras, so they seem like they're years and
Are
years
they really
apart.
the same age?
Yeah, I think they're both like right at 50.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah. See, it's all about perception.
I guess so. I would have never guessed that one. I would have never guessed that one.
There was like a third one in there too. Like I had 3 people that were basically the same age, and they were all from different eras, and it's just really weird. But yeah. I wanted to dive into this Morbid Angel concert in Illinois.
All right.
It's just, I put a little money towards the family of the guy that passed away.
Me too.
Frederick Forrest Livingston Jr., 50-year-old man, killed when the roof of the venue of the band played in Belvedere, Illinois, collapsed. I was looking at that venue. I was like, I want to say I played there, but I don't think I have.
Okay.
I know I played in the Rockford area, which I think that's in. So, and I did see a lot of different, fan groups, like the Non-Point fan group. They're one of the fans that got hurt at this concert was a big Non-Point fan that was always at the Non-Point shows, and Non-Point posted that they played that venue many a time and all that stuff. So and those old venues, man. I mean, I know it got hit by a tornado and whatnot, but I mean, some of those classic old venues that are beautiful venues. You don't know how structurally sound they are. I mean, it's like 100-year-old building.
Yeah.
But I also don't see why people are also blaming the venue either. I don't know if codes or whatever were up to snuff, but it was also hit by a tornado, so it's hard to fight that one.
Man, I think, and I don't know this, but it just seems like it's human nature to blame everybody when there's no one to blame. There's honestly no one to blame here. I mean, it's not Morbid Angel's fault. It's not the opening band's fault. It's not the venue's fault. A fucking tornado hit the building. Yeah. If a tornado hits your house, you don't blame your city. I mean, but rock and roll, for whatever reason, when tragedy strikes, it's the same. When Dimebag got killed, there was people that blamed the El Rosa. When the Great White Fire happened, there was a lot of people that blamed the station and Great White and, all these. Everybody had blame when these two things, at least in my opinion, were true accidents, or I guess Dimes wasn't an accident, but it was just, it was one of those things that nothing was really going to stop other than armed security out the ass at every point of entry, which a small club just still doesn't have, 15 years after Dime passed away, they still don't. 15 years after Dime passed away, you could still walk in the back door of a club.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not like these things happen for lack of doing what has protected people for the majority of forever. This Morbid Angel thing is just tragic, man. I mean, I can't even fathom being at a show one minute, next minute you're fucking unconscious because you got the roof hit you in the head.
Yeah. I read there was a girl. Yeah, I read the girl's post about that where she felt the rumbling, and the next thing you know, she got knocked out by a piece of the roof.
Yeah, jeez. I mean, it's tragic and it's sad, and for the metal community, I hope that everybody's okay, obviously, and it's weird how you don't think much about it until somebody says that they knew somebody in it. Yeah. Like for me, there was a thread on our locals page where there was somebody that is a CMS fan was at this thing. And I was like, wow, I would have never imagined people that listen to that show listening to Morbid Angel, but hey, who knows? Who knows? And it really is heavy metal in general is a small community. Yeah. I don't know if you looked at the numbers, but I looked a day or two ago, and the amount of money raised for the dude that passed away was double what they wanted. It was they wanted 20,000. It was like 42,000 or something. So
I'm looking at real time. It's $44,123. So yeah,
and that's cool. That's actually very cool of the metal people to throw in and throw in $5 or $2 or $1 or $50, whatever it is you can afford. Because if it happened to you, you would hope that our little community would stand up and help you out a little bit. You would hope so.
Yeah. And I'm one of those guys that, like, when these GoFundMe's come out for, our community. I kind of go through the names, see who's donating.
Sure.
Right. And Brian Slagle is always in there. He's always donating, back to the cause and things like that. I saw Jose Mangan's name in there. Things like that. The one thing, like with me, I grew up so close to my dad. My dad, the coolest dude in the entire world. Yesterday was his birthday. Like, happy birthday, Dad, type stuff. And then, this is a father-son thing because, this Fred Livingston, took his son Alex to the show.
Right.
And then, if I'm watching a movie, there's father-son stuff. If, one of them dies, and I'm in tears. Like, I'm always
right.
Father's, that's the one thing that can get me.
Sure.
And there's video of the son basically crying, saying like I couldn't do anything for him, and like immediately I'm just like, oh God, take all the money I have, kind of thing, just because I couldn't imagine going to a show with my dad and that being the last memory I have of him, or taking my son to a concert. I take my sons to concerts all the time, and basically going to a show and then one of us not coming home. That just sounds awful.
I know, dude. When you go to shows, especially indoor shows, like smaller ones, like in smaller clubs / little theaters, do you scope out the exits? Like right when you get there, just to make sure that if something pops off, that you know how to get the fuck out. Because I do. I have since the Great White Fire. Since then, that's always my first course of action is where's the exits so that I can figure out where I want to be in case something goes off. Do you do that or no?
I would like to say that, like I'm always checking for all the exits. I think typically I know where the exits are because there's a lot of the places I go to, you go to often. So you kind of know where the exits are to begin with. There's the band Crypta on here. The singer of Crypta came on the Knotfest Throwback Throwdown with Toomey show, and she was surprisingly like an awesome guest. Like that show, I was doing like 3 guests a week.
Right.
I was kind of taking who you got, who can we get on this show, and when she came on, man, she was a ray of sunshine from a death metal band. She was she was fun, having a good time, laughing. And seeing that they lost a lot of their equipment and stuff in the tornado. They were the band that played right before the tornado happened. I guess the venue did try to stop. They did stop the show for a while and kind of like let it. They were hoping everything was gonna just go over and nothing was gonna happen. So I think it could have been a lot worse because they basically that ceiling came down right over the pit. Like if you were. And, if you're going to a Morbid Angel show, no matter how old you are, you're probably going to be up close and in the pit. And so luckily, I'm assuming that the crowd was at least spread out. And so they weren't, all crammed up in the front, which is, if you've watched any of the videos or looked at a lot of the photos, man, that would have came down right in the middle of the Morbid Angel show, right on the mosh pit, which would have, probably would have made for a cool visual, but as long as nobody got hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole thing is tragic, man. There's no silver lining to it. I guess you could silver lining that only one person died, I guess. But if that's a silver lining, but still, you don't want to hear about anybody dying at a show. That sucks.
And my wife was driving home. She was coming back up from Nashville, up the interstate or whatever during this whole storm. Like it was, I didn't realize it was going to be that bad. So I started watching the Weather Channel and whatnot, kind of giving her updates because she got stuck in traffic. And then as I was watching the Weather Channel, they go to this Belvedere, venue or whatever. And it's just crazy on the Weather Channel. It's like, heavy metal band, Morbid Angel playing, as you're watching, as you're trying to watch the, the Weather Channel and everything going on. But they're like, I guess luckily, only one person, passed away from this. I know there's like roughly about 20 or so injuries.
Yeah, 28 injured, 1 dead.
Yeah.
Oof.
But
hopefully those that were injured will recover. It seems, from all indications, it seems like most of them are like, I only read about one person that's like in a coma.
Yeah.
And then everybody else is kind of awake and around and out of the hospital and stuff now, which is good. But tell you, does it scare you to go to shows when you hear shit like this or no?
No, I mean,
depends on where it is.
It depends on where. I mean, honestly, the venue that I went to see Life of Agony at a couple of weeks ago, it's an older theater, and so like when I saw the pictures at the inside of this, I was like thinking about the place where we went, and things like that. But I kind of live in the world where you can't think about stuff like this all the time. You can't get on a plane and think it's gonna crash, and you can't every time you drive your car thinking you're gonna get killed or things like that. So I mean, dying at a show is pretty. The odds are stacked, in your favor that you're not going to get killed at a show.
Right. Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, the only thing that I think I do now, like I said, I do scope the exits, and I will be honest, I have been known to leave a show if I walk in and it's oversold. Even if even if I could point to one specifically that I went to not even that long ago, Black Label Society. Okay. They played House of Blues here, and the way the House of Blues is set up here is like you walk in and then you go down some steps, and then it's just basically the end of the steps is the floor, and it's just the floor. The people when I got in which was before the openers played, so it was early. The people were all the way back up onto the steps. And I was like, nope, not staying here for this. And I literally, I didn't care that I had spent whatever on tickets. I just was like, nah, not gonna roll the dice on this one. If fire breaks out, I do not want to be cooked. No. And I left.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever left a show early because it was oversold.
There was just something that was just a vibe, It's like,
yeah.
I had that vibe. I was like, you know what? It's $50 fucking bucks. I'll go find something else to do.
Oh man. Well, there's a great new album out. Did you know that?
What is it? I need a great new album. What do you got?
Well, it's an album called Void Eternal by Nothing Nowhere.
Oh, tell me all about it, won't you?
Well, it features an all-star list of Buddy Nielsen of Senses Fail, Freddie Dredd. I know you love that guy.
Freddie Dredd. I have everything he's done.
Pete Wentz of Fall Out Boy. See You Space Cowboy Guys, Silverstein, Static Dress, Under Oath, and pretty much the guy that's on every single album, that's guesting on every single album out now, Will Ramos of Lorna Shore.
Okay.
So make sure to go check out the new album from Nothing Nowhere.
A lot of big names on there.
Yeah.
I'll have to see what it sounds like.
We will check it out. It was funny. We were driving home from basically our list episode last week was to cover up that I was in Florida for the week.
Right.
And we were on our way. I think we were on our way to the beach, and that Lorna Shore song came on with the pig squeals and everything at the end. Yeah. And I was like, I kind of had it on. And I turned it up a little bit. I was like, just listen to these vocals, babe. Like we're going to the beach, and it's like just all the pig squeals and snarls and gutturals and everything else coming out of him, man. That dude's crazy. And he's so small. It's like, that's what's so crazy. You think like the dude from Slaughter to Prevail, big muscular dude, that makes sense. Like Will Ramos does not make sense to me.
Right. That's funny.
But yeah, that was a good time, man. Good time.
So how was Florida? Did you have fun?
Florida was great. We did one day at the beach. We did 3 days at Universal Studios. My wife being being very militant the entire time. Universal's open from 9 to 9. We were there from 9 to 9. And then the second and third days, we realized that if you're in line for a ride at like 8:45, you can still ride the ride. And even if it's after 9, they're just not letting more people in.
Okay.
And so you can ride rides basically until they shut it off or whatever. And then on the way out, you can still do all the shopping and all that nonsense too. So, yeah, man, we had a great time. Always good to go to Universal, have some fun with the Harry Potter rides and all that good stuff.
Are you into all that stuff, or was this really the kids and wife trip?
I mean, she's like she's hardcore into the Harry Potter stuff. Like I know enough to get me by, kind of stuff. But I still love the rides. I mean, the Hagrid's motorcycle ride, that's probably the best roller coaster ish ride I've ever been on in my life.
Nice.
They did the Transformers and the Minions and the ET ride and all that stuff. And obviously the DeLorean from Back to the Future is there, so you got to go check that out. Even though the ride's gone, you got to go do all that stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, just a good old time down there at the old Universal Studios.
Look at you, family man.
Yeah, right. That was crazy, man. We stayed like 30 minutes from the park, so it was like we would do all that stuff, get done, go home, like eat like a little snack, and then go to bed, and then right in the next morning, just boom, right back up.
Right.
And she's like, "Let's go, everybody, boom, boom, boom."
Where? That's in what, Kissimmee? Is that right? Kissimmee or Orlando or?
Orlando, yeah.
Orlando, yeah. There's a. And look, fat guy going to chime in with a restaurant pick, but there is a steakhouse right there outside of there called Charlie's Steakhouse. Did you happen to venture into this place? Probably not.
We have not done that, no.
Next time you go, you got to make a plan to go to this place.
Okay.
When you see it outside, you never expect it to be good. It's just it looks like a little shithole in a strip mall. It just doesn't look like anything. But you go in this place, first of all, the steaks are about that big. I mean, they're huge, giant steaks. And they do everything with wood burning cooking, and they cook everything on wood. So you get that. Yeah. You get that, and they do it on some kind of apple cedar wood, so you get like an apple taste cooked into the food. Right. It's phenomenal, man. It's relatively cheap, really. I mean, for a steak place, it's like $40 a plate, which is not crazy for a giant steak plate. It's an awesome little place that I found the last time that we were down there was Charlie's Steakhouse. Oh, it's so good. Definitely worth the trip all by itself.
Speaking of the Alarosa Villa and all that from earlier, the Vinnie Paul's drum kit that he was playing that night is at the Hard Rock Cafe down there at the Universal. Right out, it's like right outside Universal in the little City Walk area. But I did go and pay my respects to Diamond Vinny while I was there.
Look at that.
It was kind of cool. The other thing that they have there at that Hard Rock there is they have like a whole room dedicated to CBGBs.
Okay.
And so it's kind of cool. I had, my oldest stepson, he's fantastic musician, like, killer piano player.
Sure.
He picked up the guitar like 2 months ago. It's probably already better than me by now. But like we were in the CBGB room, and I played CBGBs in like 2004, like right before it closed down. Mm-hmm. So I got to be a little bit of, cool stepdad for a minute and be like, yeah, I played you right here, and in the famous toilet downstairs. Sure. I was telling him how the there's no stall or anything like that. It's basically a toilet in the bathroom, and it's not a pedestal. It's
right,
the most bizarre thing ever. And so I kind of got to do that and show him like, hey, hey, I played here. And they actually have a bar out front, and it's all like metalcore. It's like,
okay,
it's the whole theme of it's like, Bullet for My Valentine and Avenged Sevenfold and God, who else? Like Funeral for a Friend and like Atreyu. And they actually had a picture of homeboy from As I Lay Dying, Tim Lambesis, up there, and I'm like, I can't believe that stayed up. Like, that's probably been up there since before all that happened, and
sure.
Somehow it didn't get into Hard Rock management. They probably should take that photo down, but
no picture of his wife, though, I'd imagine, right?
No. She's definitely out of the picture. But it's funny. We stayed at her parents have a house, like a retirement house down there, and it's like it's in a gated community, and it's like you have to be 55 or older to live there.
Okay.
And it's funny because it's like that sounds ancient to me. But then
55?
But listen, but then we talked about it, I'm like, man, that's like 10 years from now.
Yeah.
But you think like 55-year-old retirement community, and you're like, that sounds like what are we going to do in like 40 years when we retire? And then I was like, that's only 10 years away from now. And, they have like the pool and the jacuzzis and the saunas and all the different, like they do like bingo night, and they have like a live band on Thursdays or something.
Right.
And, you know, like they basically just all these old people that just like congregate in this clubhouse and drink and just do nothing. And then they go back to their bungalows and it's the life pretty much, Chris, is what
I like that you're basically condemning me to the old folks home right now. Because
well,
I think I'm 7 months away or whatever from there.
Hey, there were a bunch of places for sale down there, Chris, so you might want to look into it.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I think about Florida a lot. If it wasn't for the ridiculous humidity down there, I probably would go to Florida.
Yeah. I mean, we were there in what is it, like late March, and it was like first couple of days, I think it was like it got up to right in like the low 90s, and then the third day was like in the 70s, which like the third day was perfect. Sure. Like if I could, you know, it was like 75, and then and it even got cooler towards the end of the night. The only like really eventful thing is we went on one of the Harry Potter rides, and me and my youngest got on like the ride by ourselves.
Right.
And Melissa and her two boys were in the little thing ahead of us. Okay. And halfway through the ride, we just stop. Ooh. Like and like she stopped, like, because it's one of those things where you're flying and you're going up and down, and it's 3D. It's like a 3D ride type deal. Okay. And so like the thing is up and down, and so she literally got stuck upside down. I guess they said the story was that someone freaked out. They got on it, and then they freaked out, so they had to stop the whole ride to get this one person off. And when they did, they stopped with her with like Melissa and her kids upside down, and they're like, she's having a panic attack. My little one's starting to like. He was doing okay. We started to cry a little bit, and I'm like talking to him. I was like, okay. So so it starts back up. We do the whole ride, and at the end of the ride, instead of like taking us kind of back to where you get on and get off, like our like little contraption took veered to the left, and we went like into the bowels of this thing. And they're like, "Hey, we're really sorry about the ride. You know, if you want to, you can go ahead and just stay in your seat and basically go on it again."
Gee, and thanks.
I didn't know where they were, so because they didn't offer them the same thing, which was crazy. So we didn't do that, but we had to like take all these elevators from the bottom of this ride to the top and all this other nonsense, because it's inside like Hogwarts and all this other crazy stuff. But we get out there, and Melissa's like, we were stuck upside down, and they didn't get offered the free. I think they knew who I was. I think that's what it was. They didn't want any bad press, on the Knotfest YouTube channel.
That's what it was.
But yeah, it was funny because we had just got done talking about getting stuck on rides, and she had said that like years ago she had gotten stuck on a roller coaster stopped, and they got stuck on the roller coaster for like an hour. Ooh. And I was like, ugh, I couldn't imagine that. I mean, I don't think they were upside down or anything, but I couldn't imagine getting stuck on a ride for an hour.
Yeah, getting stuck on anything, it sucks at a ballpark or a park like that, amusement park.
Yeah.
Only one time have I had it happen, and it was like just near the top of a Ferris wheel. Oof. And just sitting there, and you're just, you start rocking a little bit, and you're like, man, this fucking thing could fall at any moment. And here I am 900 feet in the air. It's like, no thanks. I am not a big fan of that. Not really.
Yeah, well, but overall, good time had by all.
That's cool.
Well, let's dive into one more story before we do some reviews, recommendations. I got a couple of good ones this week.
Okay.
Original Kiss guitarist Ace Frehley, he returned to SiriusXM's Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk today to offer an update on his ongoing war of words with his former bandmates Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons.
Ooh.
His latest appearance on the program came a week after he threatened to quote unquote tell some dirt that nobody knows about Paul and Gene if the Kiss leaders did not apologize for their disparaging remarks they made during an appearance on the Howard Stern show.
Oh boy. Talk about an issue that means nothing to anybody but a bunch of goofs.
Well, this is going to be podcast fodder for like 300 podcasts out there.
I know.
And us.
Yeah, and us.
Cobras and Fire did a whole like breaking news scripted 10-minute podcast that they put out today, and that was pretty fucking funny.
I will check that out.
Yeah, it was like a 10 minutes they call it like CSN or something like Cobras. I don't know. CFN. Asked if Stanley contacted him after the ultimatum was issued. Ace said, as transcribed by blabbermouth.net, yes, he did. Not long after the show was over, and I was blindsided by the phone call because I saw his name come up on my cell phone and spoke to him 100 different times on that number, and that can be verified by Verizon, who is my cell phone carrier. Me too. Me and Ace, really.
Wow,
we got
me too. Wow.
Oh, look at us.
Look at us.
I figured he was calling me maybe to apologize or at least explain why he said that. Maybe he meant it really more towards Peter Criss, original Kiss drummer, than me. But whatever the case may be, but instead of an apology, I got a 5-second phone call which said, "Fuck you, Ace. I'm not going to apologize," and hung up. He wasn't even man enough to let me get a rebuttal and explain why I'm so upset or anything like that. It wasn't a text. It was a phone call. And the only reason I picked it up was because it said Paul S. When it comes to the guys, I never write their full names into my phone. God forbid somebody finds my phone. They may figure out that it's Gene Simmons or Paul Stanley, and I would never give out their phone numbers.
Gee, hold on one second. Yeah. So if you happen to find Ace Frehley's phone and you saw the name Paul S. in his phone, you wouldn't think that was Paul Stanley?
No, I would think that was
Paul Simon?
Paul Sorvino.
Yeah.
From Goodfellas.
Right. I mean, come on. What a dumb statement.
Well, maybe it's like, maybe both names are abbreviated. Maybe that's Pauly Shore.
Could be.
Yeah.
And Gene S., who would that be?
Gene S. That's I don't know many Genes.
I don't know any Genes.
That's probably just Gene Simmons then.
Gene Stapleton.
Right.
From All in the Family.
Wow. That's an
oldie reference. I'm old. I'm old.
I would love to. I wish he had like one of those when I first started Talk To Me back in the day, like back when I had like no equipment or whatever. The way I would record interviews was on my phone, and I had like a call recorder app.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And so basically, if you called me, it just kicked on, and that would record the conversation. So it would be great if Ace had that app on his phone, and basically he had the "fuck you, Ace. I'm not going to apologize." And
that would be great. Oh, that would be good to release.
Do you think? I mean, do you really think this happened?
No. I do not. I 100% don't believe any of this nonsense coming out of Ace's mouth. I think Ace has a record that he's getting ready to release, and he needs pub.
Yeah,
simple as that. And I think he's bitter that he didn't get asked to be on the final two shows because those guys don't want to bring them in. They don't want to pay them, and they don't want to take the chance of those two shows being epic.
Yeah.
And they know that with Tommy and with Eric Singer, that they can present the final Kiss end of the road the way they want to. If they bring these guys in, these guys are wild cards. They don't know how they're going to show up. They just don't know. And they're not going to, how much time could they rehearse? I mean, honestly, if they're going to play one or two shows a day before, 2 days before,
I would assume that they would only do a few, like a song or two.
Yeah, I would too. But still, you got open mics and stuff up there. They want, if I know anything about Kiss, they do everything very, very scripted. Yeah. Everything is you can look up Paul Stanley's Cold Gin rant, and it's been the same since 1974. Yeah. Literally word for word since 74. So they are as scripted as you can possibly be. And to bring these guys up and not know what they're going to do, not know what they're going to say on the microphone, if they get to the microphone, you don't know what they're going to do. So why take that chance on what is supposed to be the last shows until the next reunion tour?
So Sinzak reposted a guy named Tuck Watts. He had some notes from the interview. Okay. And it says notes? Eddie. Yeah, he like basically bullet pointed the entire interview.
Oh boy.
It says Eddie says he advised Ace to take the high road. Eddie making comments about the effect of social media and clickbait headlines on stories like this. Says he has turned down numerous interview opportunities from people who wanted to come onto his show and slam Kiss, including Bob Kulick and ex-girlfriends. Where is the one? Ace says it's been a crazy, crazy, crazy week. Ace talks about not being sure if he was played on the Creatures of the Night or not. I love those kind of stories. Like, I don't know if I played on that record or not.
Yeah. No, I love those kind of stories too, because it got me the most press I ever got when I interviewed Peter Criss.
Right.
And MTV picked up my tape. That was one of my all-time winners. MTV actually played audio of me interviewing Peter Criss on one of the Kurt Loder newses.
Wow.
That was my all-time highlight. Yep. It was my highlight. Saw my name up there, courtesy of Music's Bottom Line. I was like, yes.
Ace says the gloves are off and he's twice as mad now.
Ooh.
Claims he texted Paul back and asked him to repeat the message.
Oh.
He says you can get a court order to see if it's on Verizon's servers.
Because that's what people really need to waste their time at the court orders for. Need to get a court order to see if Paul Stanley called Ace Frehley. That's important. Wake up, dumbbell.
Ace says it's a lie that Paul created the logo, said the original logo had a diamond over the eye and lips below the logo, which I've always heard the story that Ace created the logo and Paul maybe refined it. But I've always heard that Ace, made the logo. But
I'm just curious, but 49 and a half years later, does it matter?
Right. Ace says he's the best looking guy in the band.
Okay.
Which is really not saying much.
Wow.
He says he'd play without makeup and Tommy in makeup for $500,000. So he would get on stage. Yeah, right. Me too. Do you remember all the ex-girlfriend stuff that
yeah,
came
Rachel
out?
Gordon, yeah.
Yeah, Rachel Gordon. He called Rachel a crazy broad. Claimed Paul and Jean gave Rachel $200,000 to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Might have been $100,000, but she broke the agreement by posting things on Facebook after she took a bunch of pills.
See, now Ace has set himself up to get sued.
It says Eddie tries to wrap things up, but Ace wants to go on. He says he wants his legacy cleared from lies and bullshit. Doesn't want anyone to think he was fired, that he's an anti-Semite, that he couldn't have played on the Hall of Fame ceremony, etc. Says Gina Paul doesn't own the Spaceman makeup. He licensed it to Kiss.
Yeah, so what? See, and maybe it's because I'm not a Kiss fan.
Yeah.
Every single point you're reading, my answer is, so what? Who cares? Okay, so you get paid for them using the makeup. Who gives a shit? They're using it. You're not. That's it. I mean, why doesn't he go? If he's so hung up, like, I'll just use the makeup as one piece.
Yeah.
If he's so hung up on the makeup, why doesn't he go out on his own tours in the makeup?
Yeah, I wonder if he could do that. I don't know.
Well, he says he owns the license.
Yeah. So I guess technically he could, but I think he'd look silly up there. I think that's like when like Vinny jumped on stage with his makeup on and like nobody else had makeup on. It's just like, what are you doing, dude?
I got news for you. They all four look silly and have for 50 years. It's a silly looking band.
You can watch your mouth on that one.
No, Kiss is a clown band.
I do enjoy me some Kiss. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not saying I don't like any songs. They have some decent songs, but let's be honest. They're Gwar. They're the original Gwar.
Yeah.
That's what they are. They're not. It's not like they were cool or anything. I mean, they were just different. That makeup made their career. Good for them. But to try and say, well, they were cooler than that. Shut up. No.
Last couple points. Says he won't play with Kiss without getting paid. Says the only reason the last shows sold out was because people think he and Peter will be there. Which I think that's pretty ridiculous.
That's dumb.
I think people are going because it's the last shows. It's a plus. I mean, there's probably, if you bought a ticket to that last show, you've probably got like a 10% hope in the back of your mind because people think Peter and Ace are going to be there.
Right.
Says he has not received an invitation or offer and doesn't, quote, give a shit if he gets one. which sounds like he does give a shit.
Yeah, sounds to me like the fact that he's doing radio 2 weeks in a row about this sounds to me like he really gives a shit if he gets one.
Yeah. And the last thing was the movie Spinning Gold about Neil Bogart and the Casablanca Records thing. Says he likes the movie Spinning Gold. Thought a lot was accurate. Says he thinks Gina Paul probably allowed them to use the logo as long as the actor playing Ace didn't get any lines.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. Do you really think they're that granular on this thing?
You know what's funny? It's funny that they're all like in their 70s and they're still like bickering old ladies.
Yeah, bunch of yentas. Jeez, oh man.
But I think we'll wrap it up with some reviews, some recommendations, man. What do you got? What have you been watching? What have you been listening to?
All right, listening to. I shared with you at the beginning of before we got started. My new best friend, Jen Majura from her new band How We End.
Okay.
Excellent band. It features her from Evanescence and what's her name? Diva Satanica from Nervosa and the drummer from Primal Fear. Cool band. Cool band. Heavier than you would think when I start throwing the name Evanescence in there. But she's got a new band that's getting ready to come out, and first single's out there. It's really, really good. So that's pretty much what I've been listening to. And as far as TV goes, I went into, and this is a weird one for me, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because one of the stars of this is a former Talk To Me interviewee. There's a new doc on Netflix from the Waco.
That's on my list. Yeah,
it's excellent. By far the best documentary on Waco so far, and I've watched 50 of them.
Yeah.
But your boy David Thibodeau is in it, and he's in it a lot. Like he does a lot of talking about it. And then the police captain just eviscerates Thibodeau. He comes out and he says, "Well, David Thibodeau said this, and this." He goes, "Well, David Thibodeau's a fucking liar."
I've only watched I think we got through the first episode last night, so I haven't watched all of it yet. But yeah, it was funny because I did the interview with David Thibodeau, and you know, a lot of times when you interview somebody, you join Facebook groups to promote the episode that you did. So I'm in a couple of like Waco survivor Facebook groups, and I've never like left them just because it's kind of crazy. Once in a while they'll post like somebody will find a photo, and like because it's a lot of the Waco survivors too are in those groups, and so they always like post old photos and things like that. And you know, and David Thibodeau, great dude, great interview. That was a fun episode. That was definitely outside the box of Talk To Me guests. You know, that might be the most outside the box I've ever done. I mean, I knew he had a musical connection with David Koresh, so that's why I had him on, because he was David Koresh's drummer, you know.
Right.
So that's kind of where that kind of came from, and we didn't really get too much into the actual Waco stuff. But yeah, seeing him in the documentary and then seeing the young pphotos of him too, was crazy too. Because I don't think I've really seen too many younger photos of Dave Thibodeau, but yeah. So yeah, it was funny because we were watching the doc last night actually, and you know that like Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like pointing at the TV. As soon as David Thibodeau came on, I'm like, "Hey, it's David Thibodeau. I know that guy." But yeah, so far so good on that Waco documentary, and it's funny because they do a really good job of you feel obviously you feel bad for the Waco's, you know, the Waco people, but you also start feeling bad for the cops too. Like they did a really good job of like making you feel bad for the, you know, cops that got shot. But they also made you feel bad about, you know, obviously everything going on inside Waco too.
Well, you'll see when you get to the end of it. Yeah. It does. I won't say which way it slants, but it slants pretty heavily one way. Yeah. By the end, you're like, okay, now I know what they're trying to say here, and I'll let you wait to see which side it is. But it does take it slowly works to one side, but I was fascinated how much audio they had that we had not heard before. Yeah. That like surprised me. All the phone calls. That was crazy how many phone calls there were I guess they probably recorded everything, but I guess it never has been released until now. So great doc, is really good.
Yeah, definitely good doc. The other thing I watched was we finally watched The Whale, with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I don't know if I really got it as like didn't he win like the Oscar for like best performance or something, like best male performance or something, which is kind of either way on. I mean, a lot of it's, fat suit, and there, but I will say as a movie, I thought it was great.
Right.
There's like 7 people in the whole movie. Like they basically, it's basically shot the whole time in the apartment.
Okay.
You get a little bit of stuff here and there. And I mean, really, there's only, if you want to break it down, there's only really like 3 people in the movie. There's like, a couple of people that kind of come by every once in a while. But I was watching for the credits and I was like, man, there's like 7 people in this movie.
30 seconds of credits and that's it. Whoop.
Yeah, right. No, well, it's like 7 people in the movie and 900 people worked on it.
Right.
But as for storyline, I thought it was really good. Obviously the prosthetics and stuff looked really good. The daughter, she's from Stranger Things. She did a great job. I thought overall pretty good movie. I definitely see the hype in it. And as for like it definitely kept my attention the entire time. I don't think I was playing on my phone. Like typically you put a movie on and next thing you know, you're deep in your phone doing anything but watching the movie.
Right.
But I definitely, we did what, $5.99 on Amazon or whatever.
Okay.
Definitely worth it, man. I definitely enjoyed that.
Very cool.
And then the musically, man, it always happens this way, man. I've been listening to a lot of Bury Tomorrow and I've been listening to a lot of Gideon.
There you go.
Fun. I don't know if you listened to the Gideon episode or not, but the guy that, the kid's from Nashville, and I knew he was from Nashville. I didn't know where from. So when the publicist is like, hey, do you want to interview somebody from Gideon? I'm like, give me the guy that, born and raised in Nashville. At least if the music talk kind of dies off, then we can start talking about Nashville stuff and have a little bit of basis there. But the guy actually literally grew up in the town where I lived.
Oh wow.
And so at the end, it's like, whatever local mall you have there, you kind of threw in a local joke at the end. And I was like, hey man, when's the last time you went to Rivergate Mall? And Rivergate Mall is the mall where Melissa and I met. Like we both worked at Hot Topic together. Like she came in, she was a bitch, and I fell in love with her because she was a bitch. Like all that stuff. And so I was jokingly asking him at the end. I was like, when was the last time you were at Rivergate Mall? And he's like, oh, I went there the other day because there's a Guitar Center in there now. He's like, but I used to work at Hot Topic there back in the day. And I'm like, oh yeah, when was that? And he goes, gave me the date. And I was like, was I your manager, as a joke? And he goes, well, the only person I remember there was this lady named Melissa, and she had her cheeks pierced. I'm like, that's my wife. Like, so like in like 2008 or 2007, like this guy worked for my wife for like a summer or something at Hot Topic. I thought that was pretty funny.
That's funny, man.
Yeah. Small world after all.
No kidding.
But yeah, man, that Gideon album is really good. And both of those albums, man, they I think we touched on with both of them how kind of like the new metal stylings and everything else is kind of coming back around into music, and they're not even like hiding it anymore. Like used to, it'd be like that's kind of new metal-y, but not. But now it's just like that's just super heavy Limp Bizkit or something, right? Know?
I think new metal has become the new 80s metal, hasn't it? Yeah. Like 80s metal is like officially gone again, and now it's 90s and 2000s metal is back. So yeah, it's good stuff. I love it. Good, bring more.
Yeah. It's funny you're talking about the as we're kind of wrapping up here, the one guy that I never really knew until I knew of, but I never really heard much about him or heard many interviews with is Stevie Rochelle.
Yeah.
Tough. Obviously Metal Sludge. And you had him on your show like a week or two ago.
Yeah, a week ago.
And he was also on a couple of the Rockin' Pod recaps. Sinzak and Aaron Camaro did one for Decibel Geek, and then he was on Cobras and Fire. That dude's pretty fascinating guy.
Oh yeah, he's been through it.
Yeah,
he definitely has been through it, and I mean, obviously, the Metal Sludge thing is his claim to fame. Yeah, it's not Tough, even though Tough had its moments as a third tier band or whatever, but Metal Sludge put him on the map. Yeah, he's a character, that's for sure. Yeah. And boy, he does not give a shit who he pisses off, that's for sure.
Right? Okay. Yeah, he's ripping Don Dokken on the same day that he's going on your show. It's pretty funny.
No, that was a little awkward, but whatever. He wasn't wrong.
Right. Yeah, that's a tough one. But yeah, no pun intended. Yeah, I mean, they just fell into that, like, when I started really getting into music, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, I really came in. I got into Kiss, like makeup Kiss, but it was like 87, 88.
Right.
I'm like not 9 years old or whatever.
Right.
And so like 9, 10 years old, like my older cousins were listening to Rat and Cinderella and all that stuff. And some of it was trickling down to me. I was kind of getting into it here and there, but like when Metallica hit, I was like, oh shit. Like, this is my stuff. Heavy, heavy, heavy. And then, the whole Kip Winger thing in the year and a half of like Metallica and the Nothing Else Matters video where they're throwing darts at him and they even the Winger shirt and Beavis and Butthead, that whole, like, everybody just shunning that era of music, and like, even it's so Tough. I remember seeing Tough in like the circus magazines and Rip magazines and everything else, but that was just like, that wasn't my thing at the time.
Yeah.
Man. Not at all. Like, it was a little too late,
Yeah, they just missed. They should have been out like 2 years earlier. Yeah. By the way, speaking of Beavis and Butthead, I don't know if you're aware, but the new season starts in like a week. I think
I definitely need to check that out.
15th or 16th or something is the new season of Beavis and Butthead.
Here's a review and recommendation from a listener named Mike G.
Okay.
He says, check out Royal Crackers on HBO. It's a cartoon, and I saw some of the photos or the previews for it. I definitely want to check it out. He said the very first screen is hilarious. The dude has already talked about Family Values, Limp Bizkit, Korn, and Papa Roach. Like, so it's like a comedy cartoon on HBO that we have to check out. So maybe that'll be my recommendation for next week.
There you go. Check it out and see. Maybe it won't be. Maybe you'll hate it.
Yeah. Well, knowing him, probably will. But
nice.
Well, I think that'll do it, man, for another episode of Talk to Me here on notfest.com.
All right.
Make sure you go rate, review, subscribe to the podcast, do all that fun stuff. You can follow the show at Talk to Me Talk on Twitter, at Talk to Me Talk on Facebook. And for the Talk to Me podcast, I've been Joshua Toomey.
And I am still Chris Akin.
And we will talk to you soon.
See ya.